Hello and welcome to another cooking video. So, I'm thinking what I'm gonna be doing for these is kind of going towards a TV show movie recipe kind of theme. So, I do still have Halloween videos left to edit. I'm almost done with the one that I have left that wasn't really planned out, that took me like forever to edit. So I'm thinking the ones after that should be pretty quick. And I should be able to get them out, in good time. But I'm going to do this one real quick and stick it in before Thanksgiving because this movie's always kind of read as a Thanksgiving movie to me. It's got the right color scheme, there's lots of food, so I mean, it's got good themes. But today we're going to be making Mrs. Bean's famous Nutmeg Ginger Apple Snaps from the movie Fantastic Mr. Fox. So, let's get started. So this recipe called for 4 sticks of butter, which I thought was a little bit much, so I went ahead and cut the whole recipe in half. It ended up being around 12 cookies instead of around 24, so it was a better sized batch for me to be eating by myself. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your softened room temperature butter and you're going to want to cream it. Most recipes have you cream the butter with all the sugars, but this one said to do it separately, and so I figured I might as well follow the recipe. So to your butter, you're going to be adding a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of molasses. I used this Brer Rabbit brand molasses solely because it had a cute rabbit on it. And then I just had pumpkin pie spice, which includes nutmeg, cinnamon, and ginger. Instead of the half teaspoons of each individual thing, I just put in like 2 or 3 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. And a pinch of cloves. And then we have half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And half a teaspoon of grated ginger. And there's probably an easier way to do this. I did it with a box grater, but it would probably be easier with something smaller. I had to scrape it off for most of the ginger, but I ended up getting about half a tablespoon. And then you're going to mix that until it's combined. In a separate bowl, you're going to want to do your 2 cups of flour along with 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, and a pinch of salt, and you're going to whisk that all together. And then add it in 3 parts to your wet mixture so it all combines evenly. And by the time I got all the flour in, the dough was thick enough to knead by hand, so I found that a lot easier than trying to do it with the spatula. Then you're going to want to get out your apples. I got Fuji apples. They said Rayburn, I think, in a couple different types, but I figured they were kind of pink. They're kind of the same style as the apples from the movie. They don't have stars on them, but they have little speckles, so they're close.
And even these apples look fake, but at least they've got stars on them.
And then you're going to take those and slice them as thin as you can. This was extremely difficult, and there's probably some sort of tool that I could get to hold them in place, but I ended up getting enough slices out of it to make the full set of cookies. I'm making myself nervous watching this video back, not gonna lie. Also make sure you remove all the seeds, all the stems, all the stickers, of course. And I ended up getting about a dozen whole apple slices, and then a couple little half ones that I put on the baking sheet too, just to have some baked apples to snack on. To form your cookies, you're going to want to get a pretty big tablespoon. I think it says in the recipe 2 to 3 tablespoons. And I pressed it down mostly by hand, but you can also use a spoon. It was a little bit sticky, but it did help it get a really flat surface. You can see that I kind of took a second to figure it out and figure out exactly how much dough I needed to make a full apple-sized cookie. And then you're going to take your apple slices and press them into the dough. Make sure they get pretty deep in there so that they stay on top of the cookie, because they did curl a little bit in the oven on some of them. And I also pressed all the edges, made sure everything was nice and uniform. And then both before and after baking, you're going to want to sprinkle on some coarse sugar or some sort of sprinkles. After I watched the movie back after I made these, I realized how much sugar Mrs. Bean packs on those things, so don't be afraid to go crazy with it like I was. I definitely could have done a lot more sugar on these. And then once they have a layer of sugar, they are ready to go in the oven. I also realized last minute that I could have put a little bit of extra pumpkin spice on the top along with the sugar, and that was pretty good, made them extra spicy. And they'll be going in the oven at 325. I put them in for 20 minutes. The recipe says 20 to 25. I would definitely go for the full 25 because mine were still a little bit soft and underbaked underneath the apples. I think that's just from the juice kind of soaking in, so definitely don't feel bad if you have to leave them in a little bit longer. I feel like it'll make them more crunchy and give them more of a snack.
What's that smell? Ever tasted one of Mrs. Bean's famous nutmeg ginger apple snaps?
Well, how do you do?
They are still warm.
Let me take a little taste.
taking out the color in the scene, cause the valley lift the yokes in the boggis.
And then once they're out of the oven, you can put a little bit more of your coarse sugar or sprinkles on top, because a lot of the ones you put in before kind of melt into the cookie, which is good, but if you want to have a little bit of decorative sugar, definitely put another layer on top.
Where there's a hole was once a hill, singing diddle-dee-da-da-doddle-do-doodle-dum. And as far as I can reckon, they're sitting up there still, singing zippy-zee, zappy-za, yappy-yo.
What are you singing, Petey?
Just making it up as I went along, really.
That's just weak songwriting. You wrote a bad song, Petey.
Time for a taste test. Alright, time to try these out. Mmm. Wow, those are really good. I was worried the recipe said it would be kind of bland, so I did kind of err on the side of adding more spices rather than holding back on them. But it's pretty good, pretty spicy. The apple's nice and soft. Very good. Like a cross between a gingerbread cookie and like an apple pie. Heck yeah. Yum.
Where did you get that nutmeg ginger apple snap? And why are you wearing that fake bandit hat?
So as far as like other videos I've been thinking about making, I have this Pokemon cookbook, which is kind of kid-based. So it deals with a lot of like pre-made cakes and stuff, but I figured if there's anything like that in here, I can just make the entire thing from scratch. So it's a little bit more interesting and a little bit more skill involved, I guess. But I have those, and I'm also thinking about doing a whole King of the Hill series. I really want to make Apple Brown Peggy, and I'm trying to think. I don't think I want to make Frito Pie Wolf Brand chili. I don't think I'm going to make that. But I was also thinking about... Oh yeah, and then I'm thinking I'm going to do it for Pride Month. I want to do a whole set of different rainbow colored foods. So I want to bake like a rainbow loaf. I want to make the rainbow bagels from Great British Bake Off this season. And a couple other things. So I think I'm going to have a Pride Month set. And I think I'm going to keep going with the TV and movie themed set. Okay, I'm also thinking about making cat loaf fruitcakes for my mom. And then I'm also thinking about for Fat Bear Week, which kind of just went by. It's usually like pre-hibernation time, but I'm thinking for Fat Bear Week, I want to do a bunch of honey themed stuff. So I have a couple of different themes. So if you have any ideas, anything you want to see me make, let me know.
So let's raise our boxes to our survival.